Why can't we mix meat with milk or chicken with milk, but we can mix fish and milk? What I don't understand is the thing about the chicken. No, neither do I. But you can mix tomato and cheese, right? Yes. And it's very good. And one is red and the other is white. Ah. Have I given you a hint? Yes. With that answer, have I given you a hint? I'm a bit slow today. Okay. Let's see. In truth, you can mix them, but in an order. You can drink milk and then eat meat. You just have to wait. No, you don't have to wait between the milk and the meat. It's the other way around. You must understand the principle. Any dairy products represent life. And everything that is meat, once you have the meat to eat, the animal is dead. So it symbolizes death. The natural order is first to be born and then die, not the other way around. So first you can drink milk and then eat meat. What about fish? Now wait. Mammals and humans are of very high voltage. In human beings, what symbolizes milk is semen, and what symbolizes meat is a woman's menstruation. You can't mix semen and menstruation. They are of extremely high voltage. You would be short-circuiting life with death. Why death? Because when a woman menstruates, she cannot give life, in principle. Now, below the human level is the animal level. And also there is high voltage. The voltage of mammals and birds is very high. So you can't mix milk with beef or mutton or lamb or even chicken because the voltages are high. But then there is another level of voltage that is very low. That does not shock. And that is fish. Fish blood does not shock. You can drink milk with fish meat because they are levels. They are different worlds. The voltage of milk does not damage the voltage of fish. They're very low levels. For example, if you were to touch an electrical power cable that was 20,000 volts, you would be electrocuted. But if you took a battery out of a device which is 12 volts, it won't hurt you. It won't have any effect on you. So if you take a tomato and some cheese, the tomato is of even lower voltage. It's not going to shock you. So it all depends on the worlds in which you situate yourself in. The human world is the highest voltage. The animal world is high, but less so. And the world of fish and vegetables is very low. I can also mix pepper and salt. They have very low levels of voltage. And if it's so low, why have you said that Tzaddikim souls reincarnate as fish? Precisely because they do no harm. Precisely because they do no harm. They do no harm. But if they reincarnate as shellfish, then yes. Then they would do harm. That is why shellfish are forbidden for us. It all depends on the voltage. There's a lot of voltage
in the holiness of the Kedusha.
But there's also high voltage in shellfish, but it's malignant voltage. What about when we were little and they said, you can't drink milk with meat because then you won't be giving the mother's milk to the young. You'll be killing the lamb or the piglet. Listen, we don't give children explanations about soul energy or reincarnation energy voltages. That is vocabulary for the erudite. They're given a lower level explanation. To understand, to accept until they reach an age of maturity that allows them to understand a different kind of explanation. How and when will it be known that all the sparks of the souls that must be recovered have been recovered? I know there's a limit in the human history of 6,000 years and so forth, but we are close. When will we know that the last soul has been rescued? That is a question of great spiritual depth. Good. Look at Mateo's face. The answer is when Adam fell or lost his level, many sparks from his soul fell into the klipa, into unpure vessels. In other words, Adam's soul exploded, and that is called
Shevirat Kelim.
shattering of the vessel, and it exploded into sparks, and that's where we get the explanation of from one soul millions of souls can come, because we are all sparks from Adam's soul. But some sparks fell outside the Jewish people. Some sparks fell into other nations, people from other nations, or they fell into animals, or into insects, plants, or even minerals. There are sparks that were lost. Our task is to recover those lost sparks and restore them at a human level. So, what is the work? The work of recovering those sparks is done through the diaspora. What is the diaspora? The diaspora is the dispersion of the Jewish people throughout the world. Everywhere in the world. There are Jewish people all over the world. And it's not just that they are dispersed throughout the world. They are dispersed to recover the sparks that were lost in the parts of the world where they live. Now, to answer the question, we must understand one thing. The soul of the Mashiach is of great magnetic voltage. It's like a huge magnet. And Mashiach's soul is not just in Mashiach, but also through the sparks of the soul in every soul of the Jewish people. In other words, the entire Jewish people has sparks from the Mashiach soul, which has nothing to do with Adam's soul. No. The Mashiach soul sparks have nothing to do with Adam's soul sparks, but it has very high magnetic voltage and attracts the lost sparks, and the spark that is inside each of the people that make up the Jewish people are also magnetic, but not as magnetic as the Mashiach's soul sparks, because Mashiach's magnetism is so strong that it reabsorbs all the lost sparks. So when the Mashiach says, "Here I am, and I'm not alone, but I'm with the army of angels," and not just the army of angels, but the chief of the army of angels. And there are two chiefs, actually, and we'll speak of them today. Two great chiefs of the armies of angels. They are spiritual beings that are not of the same dimension that we are. They are not visible. They can see us, but we can't see them. They can influence in our lives, and we could influence in theirs if we knew how to invoke them. And we'll see that today. Who are these chiefs? They are two biblical figures who became celestial chiefs. And under their orders, there are millions of angels in their service. Who are they? Janoj is the first one. In Latin, Enosh. Janoj was a being who not only had all the cosmic wisdom and lived as a human on the earth, he was the master of
Moshe Rabbeinu.
and he never died, but rather he rose, ascended, body and soul, to the level of the angels. And he changed his name. Hanoch, his name is now Metatron. Metatron is the chief of the army of angels. Now the second biblical figure with the same characteristics is
The prophet Eliyahu Nabi.
Eliyahu, who also ascended, body and soul, to the celestial dimension, not our world, and reappeared before the great
Tzadikim.
to respond to the questions that they
Great Tzadikim.
had and to reveal secrets that only they could reveal, because we do not have the vision to know how the celestial world operates over the physical world. So they had to come to this world to teach that. And
Eliyahu Nabi.
rose and became another chief of angels, now called Sandalfon, the angel Sandalfon. With the two, with the strength of Metatron and the strength of Sandalfon, we have the strength and the two chiefs of the entire celestial army. They will announce the presence of
Mashiach. Mashiach.
Can't say, I am the Mashiach. Mashiach must call Eliyahu and Hanoch, in other words, must call Sandalfon and Metatron, and they are the ones who can announce Mashiach's identity. Once this identity has been announced, there begins a magnetism of reabsorption of all the lost sparks, and that is the end of the answer to your question. It's a bit complicated. Any more questions? I see we will never begin the class today. Will Metatron and Sandalfon be materialized as human beings, or will they remain as spiritual beings? When they come to announce this, will they reincarnate? Will they incarnate, or... No, we can connect with them through an invocation, through meditation. If you like, we can try it today. We can even ask them for the identity of the
Mashiach.
They are the only ones who can reveal it. Is it near, the arrival of Mashiach? You'll have to ask Metatron and Sandalfon, not me. Well, let's start the class. The preliminaries on the principle of the Zohar, the entire introduction to the Zohar, before beginning the comment of the first parashah, which is Bereshit, in Latin, Genesis, before beginning Genesis, the first book of the Torah. Well, let's continue to complete the preliminaries. Here, I will tell you a number of things that are cryptic in the Zohar. They're hard to understand. We'll try all together to untangle the meanings of these words, which is not obvious. And here it refers to shofar. Today is January 15th, 2012. We're in the Yehiel Foundation, and we continue with the class of the Zohar Ha Kadosh. Here it says, the shofar is closed on all sides, but the letter Yud came and opened it so that its sound could be heard. And since it opened, the shofar is the sign of the freedom of the slaves. On all sides? Let me repeat. The shofar is closed on all sides, but the letter Yud came and opens it so that its sound can be heard. And the shofar is the sign of the freedom of the slaves. Further, the comments of the Torah tell us that when we left Egypt, we did so with the sound of the shofar. First, how can it be said that a Zohar, a shofar, is closed on all sides? How can one say that? And what does Yud have to do with making the shofar sound be heard? And how is the shofar a sign of freeing of the slaves? Zohar gives a cryptic explanation. We must go beyond that and interpret beyond that. So the first thing I want to say is that shofar is the symbol of the Bereshit. What is the Bereshit? Come on, help me. Bereshit Milah, the circumcision. Bereshit Milah is the circumcision. Bereshit is the covenant. Where is the covenant? In the flesh of children's genitals, which is circumcision. Shofar has the shape of the male sex organ. And it says it's closed on all sides. And that the letter Yud opened it to make its sound heard. So, if the shofar symbolizes Bereshit, what is the letter Yud? The letter Yud has a teardrop shape, but what it really represents is a drop of semen. And then it says, shofar is the sign of the freeing of the slaves. So here it tells you, be careful how you sound your shofar. In other words, careful with how you use your Bereshit. That is what it means. I will read it to you again, and we will understand it again. The shofar is closed on all sides, but the letter Yud came and opens it so that the sound could be heard. The shofar is the sign of the freedom of the slaves. Therefore, the freeing of the slaves means that freedom takes place by repairing the Bereshit. And how do we say that in Hebrew? Tikkun Abereshit, the repair of the misuse of the Bereshit. And it says, when the Yud, the Zohar says, when the Yud penetrates the Che, we are now hearing Yud Kelaf Che, the name of the tetragram. When Yud penetrates Che, the shofar's voice of freedom is heard. And this is quite obscure. What does it mean that the Yud penetrate the Che? The Yud, we said, is a drop of semen, and the Che is meditation. In other words, he who meditates on conjugal relations will hear the sound of the shofar, of freedom. The sexual organ is a tool of freedom, but it can also be an instrument of slavery. It depends on how you use the letter Yud. And it says, all freedom is announced by the shofar. The exodus from Egypt was made under the sound of the shofar. And there's a great feast in the Jewish year with the great fasting, which in reality is all the prayers and symbology, is the Tikkun Abereshit. It is the Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a macro Tikkun Abereshit, a macro repair. In fact, it's a day on which it's not authorized to have conjugal relations. And why not? Because we are repairing it that day. Anyone who has done the loss of semen has created conditions of slavery. And all those who have done Yom Kippur have repaired this.
Zera Levatala.
You see how Zohar speaks a great deal in terms of symbolism. And now speak of something else. We say that these preliminaries go from one topic to another. They seem disconnected, but they end up having one meaning. Now it talks about the tefillin of the arm, the phylactery that we wear on our arm and head. It says the tefillin of the arm is female, and the tefillin of the head is male. The male represents wealth, and the female represents poverty. Together, they form a single unity. And how do we know this? We know this when we see in the preliminaries the Hebrew letters represent Kadosh Baruch Hu to create the world, and when they represent
the letter Gimel
and the letter Dalet before God, God says, I can't create the world with you, because
Gimel
represents giving, and Dalet represents poverty, and the poor person must always be attached to the rich, because the rich gives the poor charity. Together they can survive. But if the rich does not give the poor charity, the poor would die, and the rich man would have no merit. Therefore, unity means that rich and poor are together. Therefore, how can we get the rich and the poor to be together? By wearing the tefillin on the head and on the arm. What is the tefillin of the head? Who is the rich man? The tefillin of the head represents thought. And who is the poor man? The tefillin that is pressed against the heart, that represents emotions. Emotions represent poverty. And the mind represents wealth. When the mind nourishes emotion, the rich is giving to the poor. Is it not always this way? That the mind nourishes emotion? The mind is above and nourishes emotion. The brain determines heartbeats, doesn't it? Yes. Now, on to another topic. And it's a very interesting one, because it explains the world of demons. It's very interesting. And with this, we will conclude the preliminaries. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when the Shabbat arrived, what Shabbat are we referring to? The Shabbat of the Ganabin, the first Shabbat, that of the creation of man. He gave man a body. He gave Adam and Hava bodies. But when the Shabbat came, he did not give bodies to the spirits. In other words, not only were the entities that we now know as humans in the physical sense, but there were also spiritual beings who wanted to have bodies. But when the Shabbat came, God did not give these spirits bodies. And those spirits grew angry against the Creator because they wanted to have a bodily dress. Now the question is, why? Why did these spirits want bodily dress, and why did God not give it to them? Because the bodily dress is what allows one to procreate. A spirit without a body cannot reproduce an essence of themselves. But a human with a body, a man with a body, a woman with a body, thanks to the fact that they have bodies, can have children. In other words, new physical containers in which to lodge souls. In other words, that mechanism of having a body allows you to recreate yourself. When those spirits saw that they could not procreate, they rebelled against heaven. They became vengeful demons, very jealous of human beings. They were extremely jealous of man. They decided to retaliate. Why? Because they did not have the capacity to procreate. So those demons went down to earth, and their aim was to take advantage of it. And they are responsible for all the troubles and obstacles that human beings face on this earth.
And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai adds,
Psalm 91 drives them away and destroys them. Psalm 91, and this is very important to write it down, because we are all surrounded by dozens of vengeful demons that create circumstances that harm the human being. Psalm 91 is important to know very well, to use to drive off all kinds of vengeful spirits. And this is so from the time of the creation of Adam. And now, to complete these preliminaries, we've been working on these preliminaries for 6 classes now, and before beginning the Bereshit,
Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai
said that there were 3 things that bring trouble and disgrace, and we must know them. First, and be very careful with this, you must never curse yourself. If you curse yourself, it is equivalent to signing a sentence for disgrace. Second, never toss bread on the ground. You must pick up all the crumbs and moisten them. And the third, and this brings a lot of curses, you must never desecrate the Shabbat before it is over. If the Shabbat is over at 5 minutes to 7, don't turn on the lights at 6:30, because you must never anticipate the end of Shabbat. To the contrary, you must add a few minutes. You must never anticipate the end of Shabbat. And why not? For one reason. All of the souls who are in the Genom, that is, a world in which they must be repaired and which they suffer a great deal, all of those souls at the time of Shabbat have a truce, so to speak. That is, it is a time of calm for them. If anyone violates Shabbat before it is over, they will be advancing the moment of suffering for those souls who are in Genom. And those souls curse the person who has turned the lights on before Shabbat is over. And what if the stars come out before Shabbat is over? No. If the stars come out, that means that Shabbat is over. Yes, but sometimes the stars might come out 50 minutes before Shabbat is over. No. The time schedule that the rabbi gives you always has a margin, but he knows when the stars are going to come out. But it gives you a bit more time so that if you get it wrong, you're still within Shabbat. What about the bread? Excuse me. The bread. You have to pick it up. What if crumbs fall down? Crumbs that fall on the tablecloth must be collected and put in the sink and water poured on them and washed down the drain, but not throw them on the floor. You must not throw them away either, because that brings a curse. What about the bread itself? Same thing with bread. You have to grate it. You would grate it and then make garlic soup, isn't it? Can you give it to animals? Yes, but you can't toss it or throw it away. And that's very important. Not many people do this, but it is important to grate the bread, to have a bread grater with any leftover bread. Grate it or give it away. Some people need it. How can you give it to animals without throwing it onto the ground? You'd have to put it into some sort of container. Okay, so now we are done with the preliminaries of Zohar, and we will begin with Bereshit. we will begin. We've finished the entire introduction. And you see, in the introduction, there are many topics that are disseminated widely. But now, Bereshit is one topic. Genesis, one topic. And I think it will take us a year just with Bereshit. That's what I think. It is very long. And the parasha of Bereshit will take 35 minutes when it's time to read that. To explain it, we need an entire year. So you can imagine. Bereshit is the most complicated part. It talks about how the world was created, how the first man was created, how all the creatures were created, how God made this physical world appear. It is a topic quite difficult to digest and to put in the reach of a rational intellect. Well, Zohar says this about Bereshit. Let's begin. King HaKadosh Baruch Hu began the world by allowing a transformation. What transformation are we speaking of? He transformed the absolute void into transparent ether. In other words, that ether was equivalent to a fluid, similar to the light of phosphorescent bodies. So it goes from void to ether. That's an initial transformation called fluid. And then he transformed the fluid into gas. And that gas is not white, black, or of any color. Once from the void, he transformed the void into ether, and the ether into gas, collided it against the verb. In other words, the word. And when the gas hit the verb, matter was created. Zohar says, what is the verb? The verb is Bereshit. Now here, there's something I want to explain. Everyone has heard that term abracadabra, right? What do you think that is? What do you think it is, abracadabra? Abracadabra is a Hebrew expression with a poor accent. It's not abracadabra. It's baraka di bara. Baraka di bara to abracadabra. Baraka di bara. He created as he spoke. The word dabe is speak, and bara is create. He created as he spoke. And it says, Zohar Ha Kadosh, Bereshit must be read as two words. Bereshit, created six. The Aramean word for six, not Hebrew. It would be shesh in Hebrew, but in Aramean, in the Zohars in Aramean, is Bereshit created six. That is, the four cardinal points, up and down. In other words, he created matter, volume. Now then, what did HaKadosh Baruch Hu impact the gas with? That he had previously made ether out of the void and gas out of the other. He hit it against the word, and that generated a spark. The spark is Zohar. Zohar means flash, spark, brilliance. This means that with the secrets of the Zohar, God impacted the void and created the universe. And we are learning that if we learn, and if we know the secrets of Zohar, we will learn how God created the universe and how He could intervene or collide in the void to create the material world. That spark is called Zohar, is our Zohar. That is what we call the Big Bang. And what is the Big Bang? It's the Zohar. In that universe, born from that spark, God created it to transform the universe into a place meant, a palace meant for the glory of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, the whole material world was created to glorify HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does glorify HaKadosh Baruch Hu mean? It means that the material world would be the throne upon which the divine mind can sit to be glorified. And who will the subjects be to glorify HaKadosh Baruch Hu? The descendants of Adam. Later, we will see that Adam, the symbol, is the symbol of the people of Israel. We'll see that in another class. And Zohar says, constitutes the sacred semen of the world. What is Zohar? It is the semen of
HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
With it, He will create His Son. And who is His Son? The physical universe. And we are a miniature replica of what we call the Son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, a great cosmic son called Adam Kapmon, the first man, but not the first man like us. The first man is made up of planets, stars, cosmos, and galaxies. So there are stars, planets, galaxies that represent a head, stars, galaxies, and planets that represent a body, etc. That is the first son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what did He make him with? He made him with the secrets of Zohar. And we, the human beings, are a miniature physical replica of the first man created by God, Adam Kapmon. Not a physical, but a cosmic man. Here, it refers to the prophet Daniel. In chapter 12, verse 3, it says the following: those who have been wise will shine like the light of the sky. Those who have taught others in the ways of justice, that is the Kabbalah, will shine like the light of stars for all eternity. And do you know what this is saying? I'll read it again. Those who have been wise will shine like the light of the sky, and those who have taught others in the ways of justice will shine like the light of stars for all eternity. Because the reward for the tzaddik who teach Kabbalah is that a star will be created for them. We have already seen this in the preliminaries. That is why he will shine like the light of a star. He will have a new body, a star, and he will be the soul of that star. You see that this is touching on topics from the preliminaries to begin to understand matters that will appear in Bereshit. And this means that all the sodot of the Zohar, that is, all the secrets of the Zohar, thanks to them, the physical world and physical events were created, and with them, all situations are materialized. In other words, the Zohar holds the secrets on how events are materialized. This means that if we use the secrets of the Zohar, that is, the semen of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we are capable of reaching tzaddikim to create events, that is our way of glorifying God, which is why He created us, to be creators like Him. Why? Because when we were souls and we received all the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Eden, before coming down to this world, we complained that we were receiving, but we want to create. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu then said, I will make you into creators like me. And that was also the argument of the serpent. When the snake told Chava, eat of the forbidden fruit, how did he reason with her? He said, if you eat this forbidden fruit, you will be a creator like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You will be like Him. You will have His power. What power are we referring to? The power to create events. So, the semen of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we are referring to Zohar, dressed as matter and took the name of Elohim. And what is Elohim? The body of the semen of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Elohim is the same numerology as a teva, nature, that is, the entire physical world. And here we're referring to Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, the Moon, the Earth, and all they contain. That is nature, with its laws of physics. That is the secret of the semen of God. The DNA of God is dressed as nature. And that is why the first verse of the Torah is Bereshit bara Elohim. That translates as, literally, in the beginning, Elohim created. Who did He create? The essence of God dressed as nature. That is, with the light of Zohar, Elohim is created. And with Elohim, everything we know was created. Zohar Ha Kadosh says that the word Bereshit represents God. Why? Because Bereshit is also at the beginning, and at the beginning of everything is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As you will see, the way the world was created is very deep. It is very deep, but also very interesting. And as we're studying Zohar, In reality, we're studying the DNA of the semen of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nothing more nor less. We are studying the genetic engineering of the Creator. Then, HaKadosh Baruch Hu dressed as nature. And that body is the astral system. And we know that the astral system has influence over the events of man. Here we begin to do what is called the terumah. Terumah or timora? What is permutation called? Timora. Timora, excuse me. It's timora, the permutation of words, and begins to explain another meaning of the word Bereshit. It says that Bereshit must be read as the house of the head. But what it is truly telling you is that the head is enclosed in a palace. And what does that mean? To understand this, you must understand the name that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave
to Moshe Rabbeinu.
Moses. When Moses asked him, "Who are you?" what did he answer?
Ehyeh asher ehyeh.
Ehyeh asher ehyeh is a very big encoded message. Asher must not be read that way. It must be read backwards as Rosh, head. And twice the name Ehyeh. One is the seed. The other, Ehyeh, is engender. And what does this mean? That God sends a seed into the mind. And once the seed has been planted in the mind, the names of God that we visualize and that we meditate, once it is enclosed in this palace, the mind, then we can engender events. That's what it's telling you. If you are capable of meditating with the names of God, you can create events as God did. Because God is called
Ehyeh asher ehyeh.
and that is the formula by which events are created. You plant a seed in your palace, in your mind, Asher, Rosh, and the second, Ehyeh, you will have engendered, created. That is what it means when we say we were created in His image. Notice that when God said to Moses,
A Moshe Rabbeinu.
"My name is,"
Ehyeh asher ehyeh.
he said, "but don't tell the people that. Don't tell them."
Ehyeh asher ehyeh.
Simply
Ehyeh
the other
asher ehyeh.
for the Kabbalists. In other words, you teach them the name of God, but not how to create events. And why not? Because I would not put a machine gun in the hands of a chimpanzee, nor would I put a scalpel in the hands of someone who has not studied medicine. Such enormous power can only be put in the hands of people who are not just initiated, but who have been tested to ensure that they have the spiritual virtues of such magnitude that they are not going to use such a powerful tool for evil. I would not let you enter the control room of a nuclear reactor to touch the buttons if you hadn't studied nuclear engineering. I would not do that.
That is why Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu, you give Ehyeh, but not Ehyeh asher ehyeh.
You understand? Let's take a break now. And then we will continue with our meditation. Let me correct myself. When I said El Genesis, it's La Genesis. No, the other way around. Every time I said it's La Genesis, it should be El Genesis in Spanish. So a semantic issue. That's now been clarified. As we said in the preliminaries, and I said before the class, I said there were two heavenly chiefs who ascended to higher planes from being human beings to being chiefs of angels. They are the ones who brought knowledge to this world.
Because we are incapable of having it.
Unless they give it to us. It's clear that Adam and Noah and Abraham Navinu and his children, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob,
Moshe Rabbeinu, as well as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai,
who opened the Zohar, and all the other Tzaddikim and Kabbalists who have followed, have all had as spiritual guides Hanoch
and Eliyahu Navi.
In other words, Metatron and Sandalfon. And since all of us who are interested in studying, we're all interested in studying the Kabbalah, we have no choice but to resort to them, just as
Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai or Moshe Rabbeinu
did. We will too. Now, to resort to such high beings, we must perform an invocation. And how will we invoke them? To do what? We will invoke them to reveal a secret of the heavens, that without them it would be impossible to reveal on earth. Here we are deaf, dumb, and blind. Without their help, we would be nothing. So, one of the 72 names of God that reveals secrets is Mem Yud Haf. Mem Yud Haf is the first three letters of the angel
Michael.
Mem Yud Haf. Mik. Mem Yud Haf. These three letters, Mem Yud Haf, which I have put up here on the whiteboard, have a numerical value equivalent to 70, because Mem is worth 40, Yud is worth 10, and Haf is worth 20. So 40 plus 10 is 50, plus 20 is 70. And the word sod, secret, is 70. The Hebrew word for secret, sod, Somer Vav Dalet, is also worth 70. Somer is worth 60, Vav 6, and Dalet 4. 60 plus 6 is 66, plus 4 is 70. And what does this mean? That the name Mem Yud Haf is he who will reveal a secret. But first, since
Eliyahu Navi and Hanoch
is the one who can reveal the secret, first we will meditate, Mem Yud Haf. And then we will invoke these two celestial chiefs. And what secret do we want them to reveal to us? We want them to reveal the identity of the Mashiach. And through meditation, because there is no other way. So we will have a good laugh, because everyone will get a different message here tonight. And so, if you want, we can do it. If not, we can do it some other day. No, the sooner the better. The way things are going now, we shouldn't put it off. I think we should do it. I leave it up to you. The Mim Yud Haf is to invoke? No. Mim Yud Haf is to reveal a secret. And it's equivalent to the word
Sod.
Invoking. That's a text that I will read. I'm going to invoke them and you will listen. And once they are invoked, we will meditate. Mim Yud Haf. And then there will be a response. Or not. We'll see. To each one, according to their sensibility. What? The...
Magen David in gold.
Is it for money? It's white letters. It has nothing to do with money. Gold is always protected in meditation. No. Gold, gold. And the thing down below? No, that is the word sod. It's a pedagogical word for us to understand why we're going to meditate Mim Yud Haf. So we're not going to use the name Sandalfon or anything? No. I will invoke Sandalfon.
And Metatron.
But I will do so according to a passage from the Zohar. As these things are invoked, I did not make it up. I got this invocation text from the Zohar. Okay, Min, you have. Do you see this? Does everyone have it? Written down, referenced? We shouldn't mix it. You shouldn't mix it with anything. No. No. The invocation will be enough already. There's a candle there. I will ask you to write it down. I'm going to put this down because I can't hold the board and do the invocations for too long. Ready? One thing I want to tell you, we won't close our eyes now. We will listen very carefully to the invocation. And when it's over, we will meditate Min Yud Haf with our eyes closed. And the answer will appear from Min Yud Haf. Okay? Does everyone understand how I'm going to do it? Yes, it seems more logical. If it works, we will have achieved it. And if not, then we'll try again some other time. Let everyone ask for what they want. Now, listen carefully. It is to you that I address myself, masters of the celestial and terrestrial schools. And I address you,
Eliyahu Nabi and Metatron.
and I conjure you to take permission and descend here as I propose to understand and reveal a mystery that will disrupt the world following the great battle that good has waged against evil. And I invoke you too, Hanok Sandalfon, Celestial Chief, to descend here to the earth with all of the chiefs of the celestial school under your orders, I do not do this for my glory. I make this petition for the glory
of the Shekhinah.
the mystery that we request that you reveal is that you reveal the name of the Mashiach for the salvation of the world. Amen. Here we can visualize Nabi of a gold color. And we call the letter Mem, and we enlighten it. And we call the letter Yud, and we enlighten it. We call the letter Haf, and we enlighten it. We put the three flames together in one. We take the light from the Star of David, acting as a screen. We bring it to ourselves as observers. We bring the light down through our skull. We enlighten our brain. We bring it down to our heart. We enlighten our heart. We take it down to the liver. We enlighten the liver. The light rises to the heart. It enlightens the heart. It rises to the brain. It enlightens the brain. All of our stars of David form a chorus. Above that chorus are the angels, Metatron and Sandalfon, sending light to our brains, hearts, and livers. And behind them are thousands and millions of angels, all under the orders of Hanoch and Metatron. And all of them will cooperate in the revelation of this mystery. And we feel the presence of Hanoch
and Eliyahu Navi,
that is Metatron and Sandalfon, who come as the masters of the celestial school and agree to leave their tasks to come and reveal to us their secret in this world for its redemption. And now I let you listen freely. Let's take a deep breath, open our eyes. We need to turn on the video, if not he can't see us. Very well. We are finished with the shiur. Who would like to speak up? And you who wanted to do this meditation no matter what? I received an image. You have an image. An expression.
David Melech Chai V'Kayam.
I'm not sure. But, of course, that's normal. Mashiach comes from David. King David is alive. Okay? That's it? The image. Okay, how about Manuel? Nothing. Nothing? No connection. No network. What about Pierre? No, nothing. Nothing? Jocelyn? Yes, I saw. They were our... I didn't see them as entities, but I knew they were there as beings. And I saw they were touching the shofar of Yom Kippur. But it was very long and together. It was a huge shofar, both of them, and Yom Kippur. And I saw a huge light forming, and it formed, and I don't know, there was a being there. It was there. The shofar, c'était tout. But speak Spanish, please. You've lapsed back into French. No. The shofar stopped. There were two. It was Yom Kippur. And there was a huge light. And in the middle, there was someone there. Next to the light. Like holding the light. I don't know. I don't know more. Is that it? Mateo, I'm listening. Yes, I saw what I saw makes Hollywood look like amateur stuff. I saw a great connection among the Jewish people, like an electrical network joining us all and gradually raising us to a high level of awareness at that time. The face of an old man appeared, the Mashiach, a wise man, and then became the face of a boy. And then the captain of a ship. And as of that time, they took me into a time tunnel, something I'd never seen before. It was spectacular. I don't know if you remember, like in Star Wars, it was like that. A time tunnel into another dimension, and another civilization was there. And a giant tree was there, and I understood that it was the first tree. And then, as I came back, and I was heard, the Mashiach is, and at that time the connection cut off. Just then. Yes, truly, my luck. But it was spectacular. So it will be like a series to be continued. It would be continued. But it was truly beautiful. Well, you can repeat it when you want on your own. Because it will be done by episodes. It might be an entire series. And you? I think I have part 2. You have part 2 of the to be continued. Well, let's see. I said that this would be fun. As I never... When we were... They were above us. There was a lot of light. And then from the core of the earth, a very large man emerged with a lot of light. And then the earth turned itself inside out. The earth, the planet, I mean. It did like that, ploop. And I understood that it had entered into another plane. Yes. Yes, very good. Natalia. Well, I was floating in the air, and the two angels, there was no words, but they were smiling at me with a very deep look. And then the two of them stood to one side, and there was a door, and behind the door was God, and they let me go through it. Isa. No. Deborah. No. Is there anyone behind you on the sofa? No? No? Isa. I don't really know how to explain it. I felt... Well, first, I felt the two angels with many people behind them. And then they were passing gold to us, a gold color. They were in gold. And then they were passing it to us. That was the encounter with them. And then we were over the water. It was like a silvery water, like at the end of the day, and I was above it. And I could sit on the water without sinking. And I was very surprised by that. And then on the bank, we were all there. And I said, the waves won't open. The sea won't open. But it did open a little bit, and we were able to walk on the water. We were walking on water. I thought we would sink, but no. We walked, and we reached the doors of the universe. As we said before, the doors of the universe. And there was a great shining light. It was beautiful. And we knew that behind that door, the world began. At that time, we left the earth. Around the earth, it was night. Well, there was no light. We weren't on earth. And we were flying. I flew. And I took your hand. And then we were all flying. And we were flying. There were no laws, these laws of gravity. There were no laws of anything. We could turn around and around. And we understood that that was the identity. We no longer belong to the earth. We had left the earth. That's it. So far, I turned on the light and it went away. What about the door? Yes, that too. Okay, Ivan. I saw two powerful light beams with a great trail of light in both of them. I didn't see any human face, but I did get that message that they were inviting mankind to a new state of consciousness. Pete? I felt myself rising up, and beyond that, I could see angels, but it was impossible. To contact them, they were too far. Good. How about you? Well, I've been on the same thing for some time. One comes to rescue us from another plane. Another plane. A large man. Large birds from another plane. And Teresa? I saw the two angels as sources of light. And in the middle, the Mashiach. But I did not see his face. It was a very powerful light. And what they said was, we need you. You must continue. We need you. I saw how from our hearts, brains, livers, a string of light was created between us and all mankind, and connected to the heart, brain, and liver of the Mashiach, connecting all of those lights, and he strung them together. It was a connection of all these souls into one. Sandra? Have I asked you, Pierre? We were meditating, as were the subjects or students of the angels, and then when we were all in the chorus, they began to clean the Magdavid. I don't know, but to clean us up a bit, and then told us that there is something like a new software, a new program that was like the Big Bang and the Zohar to the 26th power. It was like an internet, but the soul of the Mashiach was connected to that internet, but there was interference. It was created, but there were some hackers and interferences and some bugs to work out. It's a very computerized meditation. Well, let me explain it so you understand it, that we were all in contact, and that there is a base to which we're all connected. Good. Well, first, a great emotion. Like a few times I had goosebumps. It was very impressive. And then I saw it all. And he gave me his name, Inyon. And Inyon and Inayun is door 50 of arrival. And you still have to cleanse a little bit of your liver. That's what he said to me. Who have I not asked to speak? Yourself. Well, in my case, it was simple, really. They told me they'd been waiting for this moment for a long time. They said that we had taken a long time to invoke them, that they were waiting for this moment. They said that they would come down to the earth. They needed bodies to come down to the earth. They said, we and our cohorts of angels, they said, we will come down through your students. Thousands of angels will enter into your bodies. And that from this group, they've asked us to continue our work with the Zohar, because this is the Mashiach group. And that we will no longer be alone. We will be well directed. Nabi and Hanuch will be the leaders of our work. We're not alone. We're with an entire army of angels. That is you. And so, voila. Like the cave of the... Now, they are invoking us to continue our work, because the work is... What is he writing? What's he writing there? Wow.
Wow.
Anything to add, Mateo? Asaga Baruch. Asaga Baruch. There's one thing I saw that I don't know how to interpret. I saw a very large
P.
A very large P. Because inside the P is the bit of Badacha. And the
P.
comes from the
P.
comes the word, and from the word comes the...
Beracha.
So, we will conclude here. We should not be afraid, right? Well, at the time of the evocation, I had goosebumps too. I didn't know if I would survive. That is why I had to read it. This invocation is written word for word in the Zohar. The Zohar is very powerful. It's no joke. It's on in the book of Defoli. It's on page 150 of the Bereshit.